You may have seen some videos online that seem to turn day into night or spring into summer into autumn and winter. It's a little feature called Hyperlapse using another feature called Waypoints. It's incredibly easy to set up, good fun, and that is what I'm talking about today. Hello, I'm Ian, and today I'm talking about time-lapse videos, or specifically hyperlapse videos that the Mavic Air 2 can produce and does a pretty good job of it. The idea behind a time-lapse video is that it is actually a series of photos taken in sequence and then bunched together to produce a sped-up video, basically. Now you could argue, well, why not just take a video and speed the video up? But there are times when you can actually get far more detail, especially if you've got low light conditions or you want movement, where an individual photo pieced together will actually give you a far better result than a video being shot and then speeded up. Mavic Air offers you 4 types of hyperlapse functions to produce these time-lapse videos. You've got one where you can actually fly freely. You've got one where you would actually set the point of the subject, if you like, and you'll circle around it. You've got another one where you'll set the direction of the drone and fly, but the camera itself will focus on the specific subject. And you've got the last one called Waypoints, where you actually set in a complete course for the drone to fly with camera angles, and then that's saved, and you can then repeat that flight again and again and again. And each time it will actually fly precisely the same position, have the same camera angles, and be exactly the same video. But crucially, you can do that at different times of day or different times of the year. And that is the whole idea of the Waypoints hyperlapse, because as I said, you can then blend these videos and end up with some pretty cool effects. And one of the good things about this is that all of the processing is done automatically for you by the drone itself, so you don't need to worry about post-processing at all on your computer. So look, without further ado, let's dive into the menus and show you exactly what's what. So go into the menu settings, so you click the camera options at the top, and you're going to scroll down until you hit hyperlapse. When you do that, as I said, you then get 4 different options: free, circle, CourseLock, or waypoint. So once you've selected hyperlapse in the camera mode, you then have to go into camera settings and specify what resolution you want the hyperlapse to be recorded at. So if you scroll into the 3 dots top right, then go across to camera and scroll down, you can see hyperlapse. Now, just at one point, if you haven't selected hyperlapse here, if you're still in, say, photo mode, then when you go into those 3 dots top right, you won't actually see the hyperlapse settings. The camera settings change depending on what camera option you've got selected. So like I said, go for hyperlapse, 3 dots top right, camera, and you can scroll down. Now, I would have photo type set to off. If you have it set to JPEG or RAW, it will store an individual file for every single photo that it takes in order to compile the hyperlapse. So that can easily be 300 photos. So unless you've got a real need for those photos, I actually leave them set to off. The format, generally MP4 if you're Windows, Move if you're on a Mac. And like I said, they've introduced this 4K value. To me, 8K is just far too big, pretty pointless, and I haven't got an 8K TV. I'm happy to film or have the hyperlapse compiled into 4K. Anti-flicker, you're not really going to need to worry about unless you've got lots of street lights and you're doing it at night. Generally just leave that to auto, and you should be good to go. So there are a few settings that are common to all 4 different types of hyperlapse that you can shoot with the Mavic Air 2. First off is the interval. This is the gap between the individual photos. Remember I said that the photos are the individual frames of the video that's going to be produced. So the interval here is basically how much time you've got in between each individual frame. Now, if you've got a fast moving subject like people walking or cars driving down a highway, then you probably want to have quite a short interval. That way you're going to still see some continuity between an individual person walking or an individual truck or a car driving along. If you've got a very slow moving subject like clouds moving across the sky or the shadows moving across the landscape, then you probably want a higher interval because you want to speed those clouds up quite considerably, and you can get away with a 10 or even a 15-second interval if you've got a very slow moving subject. The next option, length, is the final video length that the software is going to produce for you. 5 seconds is probably a little bit short. You probably want to be going for more like 10 or 15 seconds. Remember, if you're shooting at 30 frames per second, then you're going to need 30 individual photos to make up just 1 second of video. A 10-second video is going to require 300 photos. If they're 5 seconds apart, suddenly you're quickly getting up to 20 to 25 minutes in order to shoot the video. And you may well run out of battery, so you've got to be a little bit careful on how long you want the video to be. But if you do run out of battery, then you can press stop at any time and it will still work with what it's shot so far. So the final option in this particular format of Hyperlapse is the maximum speed of the drone itself. So as I said, this is free flying. You're going to be controlling how you fly, the direction you fly in, and how fast you fly. But you don't want to be flying too fast, otherwise there's going to be too much change in the landscape between the individual photos. So generally you want to keep it quite low, about 1 to 1.5 meters per second. You don't really want to be going much over, say, 5-10 miles an hour. Now with the free flying mode, I do find this probably my least useful mode, to be honest. You do need a steady hand, and any movement, however subtle you think it is whilst you're actually flying the drone, is going to be greatly magnified when the final video is produced. So the next option you've got is the circle hyperlapse. This is a little bit more useful, I think. It works similar to a point of interest. You set the central subject as the center point of interest, and then the drone will actually circle around with perfect movement, always keeping the camera focused on that center point. Again, like before, you have to set the interval between the individual photos and how long you want the final output video to be. You also set the speed of the drone, but you also then set which direction you want the drone to go to, so whether it's clockwise or anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. But ultimately you get, I think, a very nice result with the circle hyperlapse. When it's finished, as you can see here, it's compiling the video, and then when that has finished, you can choose to view the video by pressing on the little play button below the red dot, and then you can choose to download it directly from the drone and view the video that you've just taken. So the next option you've got is the CourseLock Hyperlapse, and I think this is a really cool feature to use. You set the direction that you want the drone to fly in. You can actually click and drag the subject just like you did for the point of interest for the circular hyperlapse. This sets the subject, but crucially when you then set the interval and the length and then the speed of the drone, when you press start, the drone is going to fly in a straight line past the subject, and it'll keep the focus of the camera directly on that subject. And you can see here with this oak tree you get a really nice little flyby. So whilst the photos are being taken, you can adjust the altitude of the drone as you can with the circular point of interest mode as well. So you can actually get some really dynamic shots. So I think CourseLock is actually a really good feature. So that leads us on to the fourth type of hyperlapse. Thank you, Ted. Oi, come here. Thank you. That leads us on to the fourth type of hyperlapse, which is the waypoint hyperlapse. And this is actually my favourite one of all four modes, because what it allows you to do is set the actual flight path and the actual journey of the drone, if you like, with the camera angles, the altitude, the direction, and everything, which will allow you to save that route and then fly it again and again and again. So what that will allow you to do is to take a number of different hyperlapse videos, either at a different time of the day or different time of the year. And that is obviously how you build up these videos where you have a transformation from day to night before your very eyes. So in order to jump into that mode, it's very straightforward. We tap the top menu again and choose waypoints. And you see down at the bottom there, you've got set waypoint. What this is the input screen for you to set the various points, the dots of your flight plan. So let's just say we're going to start off looking at this bush, for instance. We'll do that. Straight away you see camera angle too small. All that's saying is you haven't moved the camera now enough in order to set the next waypoint. So the moment you actually move the drone a little bit and move the angle or whatever, you can then set the next waypoint and then carry on moving the drone along and set the following waypoint. Now look, this sort of waypoint mission is not going to be that interesting if you're just taking pictures of hedgerows and trees. So what I did last night was go down to a major road intersection where I was able to set up the waypoints to take a number of different videos during the day, dusk and at night. And you can see here, as I was going through the setup initially, I was planning the individual waypoints, moving the drone to the next position, then tapping the next waypoint and basically carrying on. I think I put in about 7 or 8 different waypoints. To me, the idea here was that you wanted to take a little bit of a journey. Here was the road, here's the big intersection, and then you pan up towards the end so that you can see the whole intersection and the city lights in the background. But the crucial point here with waypoints is the little white drop down on the top left. This is what you need in order to save the flight plan that you've just entered. And this is also how you recall a previously saved flight plan that you have drawn up at an earlier time. You see here some different flight routes that I'd already put in. When you select one, it'll load it up, and then all you have to do is press the red button, and you see then the drone will move into the position for the starting waypoint that you set in. And then it will, once it's there, it'll start the hyperlapse, and it'll start taking the photos, and it'll move to each of those individual waypoints that you have set out. And then when that's completed, you can bring it back down, change the battery again, and I came back about an hour later when it was almost dark. And again, you reload that same waypoint mission, and once it's loaded up, again you press the red start button, and off it goes to do its thing. And you see here as well, if you tap on the right, you've got this option where you're flying normal. If you tap it, you're then given the option of flying in reverse, which will actually fly exactly the same flight path, but in reverse for you. So in this particular instance, I've got three identical waypoint flights, but have been taken at different times of the day. And then this is where you do need to have a bit of fun in editing, and what you can do is overlap all three and fade one out and bring another one in, and you end up having a bit of fun where you can see you start flying in day and you're finishing up in night, all in a matter of seconds. So there you go. Hyperlapse and especially waypoints, I think, is one of the more fun functions you've got in the Mavic Air 2. You can really produce some pretty outstanding and fun results. A lot of people haven't bothered using it because they think it's too complicated, but it's not. You know, have a play, see what it can do for you, and just have some fun. Anyway, look, hopefully that has been useful for you. As ever, you know the drill. Give me a little thumbs up, helps the cause. If you haven't already, hit sub and ding the dong so you get notified when I put something out. Bit of a shame, we seem to be coming to the end of summer, and we seem to be going into a second lockdown at the moment. So until next time, I hope you're staying safe and sane. Have fun and happy flying.